What's up, YouTube? Andy from the Sports Card Flip Game, here with the latest on how to get you plugged in to all things sports cards. In today's video, we are going to be giving a market update on SGC. We're going to talk about some of the first slabs that are coming back in these recent submissions. We're going to talk about the good and the bad with some of those from hobby creators, content creators, hobby enthusiasts, you name it. We're going to talk about some of the good and the bad and overall opinions of SGC, at least from my perspective. If you haven't already yet subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so by clicking that sub button down below to join the team. And if you haven't already, turn on the bell notification so you can be notified when I'm posting new content. I'm posting twice a week to be able to help give you all the latest. So really would appreciate it. And if you do like the content, really specifically about SGC, hit that like button. Tell me down in the comments below whether you're pro SGC, whether you're still kind of on the fence and haven't really figured it out yet, or maybe you're anti-SGC. You're really in the BSA or BGS camp. That's cool too. Really want to flesh that out, especially as they're kind of coming up in the market and some of these first returns are coming back. Let's really get into that and see what's kind of coming up. So some of the first YouTubers in sports cards have gotten some recent submissions back on their, first or at least most recent SGC submissions, right? And some of the opinions thus far have been they like the black in the slabs, but maybe not on all cards. Some of the black card sets maybe don't show quite as well. But I think overall the opinion is positive, it's good. They really do like the look and feel of the actual slab. They feel like it's got a good content, it's overall high quality. The label still has a little bit yet to be desired. If you think back, and a lot of you have probably watched the Cardboard Chronicles interview with Peter from SGC, he discusses the need for a hologram. I know a lot of other people don't like the label and kind of the font, how the auto and the overall grade are flip-flopped when there are auto cards, and so that's a little bit different from, say, BGS, which starts first with the overall grade and then gives the auto. This one actually starts first the other way around, and so it gets a little bit confusing. Just kind of something to think about. I know SGC is listening to that feedback. They've talked about it in that Cardboard Chronicles interview where Peter talks about that hologram. They talk about a new space, and that's going to be really important when we start talking about their overall service times. But I think for the most part, and really I've watched a couple of really key content creators, Elite Co 3 and Filmington, have been pleased on really their grades, on the consistency where their grades, how they've come out, and overall turnaround times thus far have been solid. Now, what remains to be seen, were they those first to move, right? And so they've gotten their turnaround time a little bit quicker. Some of the negative that's come up around SGC is that maybe we've flooded them with just a little bit too much volume. SGC has reported about 10x in terms of their card submissions. Really, in this time of quarantine, they've really been on the come up, and as they've started to make their name, that volume has really increased. But as you can imagine, they've also had to look at and apparently are moving to a new space in order to be able to meet the demand. Where that kind of meets the rub is with one particular hobby content creator, Nash Cards, on Instagram, actually posted a few days ago that he had a submission to SGC on April the 30th, and that as of the time of the post, which was 5 days ago, it was already 6 business days overdue. Now, I'm not sure if maybe that's a little bit of fuzzy math. I'm not trying to call Nash Cards out or anything, but I'm going to share with you what my exact turnaround time is with SGC, because I really think that may help us all kind of get a bellwether, or at least a measuring stick of exactly how long it really is taking. But nonetheless, right, he reported that his submissions were overdue, and that's something that kind of got me thinking, okay, well, are they really over-promising and under-delivering, right? Because if that's the case, then we're just putting good money against bad. And Filmington actually, in that SGC submission video, talked about, hey, can they actually keep to their SLAs? So for those of you that don't know, SLAs are service level agreements. Essentially, that's what, whenever you make a contract with a company, you're saying, I'm going to abide to, hey, when you go to McDonald's, there's not an SLA, but when you go through the drive-thru, there's an expectation it's going to be quick. When you go to a restaurant, there's going to be an expectation that it's not going to be quite so quick. It's not going to be fast food, but the quality is going to go up, right? If you go to a 5-star restaurant, it's going to then even change a little bit there. You get the idea. So with SGC, right, that lowest or the slowest turnaround time is 20 business days. So, okay, we're already starting to hear maybe some rumbles that they're not able to meet that SLA due to their increased demand. Or maybe it's just because they're moving, or maybe this one guy just has his numbers off, right? Who knows? But the thought being, okay, well, you're hearing with PSA and BGS 3, 4, 6 month delays. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. Maybe we're all sort of overblowing what the expectation is on turnaround time. But nonetheless, maybe the SLA should be 1 to 1.5 time, right? So instead of 20 days, the expectation is, hey, if they're a few days late, I think most folks and most reasonable folks are going to give them a little bit of a break or a little bit of a pass and say, hey, right, we know times are tough. We know situations are tricky. We'll give you a couple of extra days, right, before we blow our top. And so here's really why I'm still, or at least always, or who knows what the right verb may be or adjective, I'm still Team SGC. So for my video, I posted it on April the 30th, right? I actually sent my cards off in the mail on May the 2nd. So that's Saturday. So it's only been a couple weeks for me. I actually received notification from SGC on Thursday, May the 7th, that they'd received my submission. So in my mind, right, and kind of knowing how 20 business days, sometimes that clock may start on the 7th, it may start on the 8th, depending on how you kind of look at things. My sort of expectation of when I might hear something back from SGC is really at the end of the first week of June. So we still have a few weeks for them to fulfill their 20 business day SLA. And that would, in theory, put the cards back in my hand, slabbed and ready to go in kind of the second week of June. If I get to the third week of June, or really if I get to maybe even the end of June, then I'm going to be a little bit ticked, right? But you get the idea of sort of how consumer expectation may be just a little bit blown out of proportion. And some of that may be SGC bringing it on, right? They're saying, hey, PSA and BGS aren't able to fulfill their service times at all. We're going to do a lot better and ship them out on 20 and ship them out on 20. That creates an expectation in your head that, oh, hey, 20 days, not necessarily 20 business days, right? And so the way you look at the calendar, business days gives you a little bit longer time, and especially here with Memorial Day next week. That's another not business day into the mix. And so those are just some considerations to keep in mind. The other things to keep in mind too are the fact that a lot of times folks may have preferential treatment with a grading company. There may be bulk submissions. All those things kind of come into play that may up the time that they receive their cards back. And that overall actual SLA, I think on 1.5 times, so really 30 business days, is still a really reasonable expectation. The other reason why I'm still Team SGC is really the website, right? And for me, in sort of my millennial, even though I'm not a millennial, habit or evaluation of websites and that ease of use to be able to do everything all in one-stop shop, on GoSGC.com to be able to not have to deal with printing out a PDF, inserting the information, and then not ultimately knowing where my cards are at in the process, I think is a big difference. And one of the other things I'm really looking forward to is the scan of the cards on the back end. I think that's going to be just a nice added touch that will help set SGC apart. Overall, SGC is really doing a classic market disruption tactic. They're coming in, even though they've been in the grading game for a long time, and some of my subscribers have pointed that out to me. Thank you for that, by the way. They've been in the game for a long time, but they're saying, look, this is our opportunity to make a bigger name or a bigger presence, particularly in modern cards, to be able to help create them as a viable alternative for modern cards, and to hopefully be able to provide a quicker expectation of turnaround. Now again, that 20 days remains to be seen, and I'd love to get your feedback on where you all are seeing your returns from SGC coming in. Are they withholding that 20 business day SLA? Are they going beyond that? Can we, put yours against mine so you can give an idea of what the time frame is? And I realize I'm not the first one to submit, and we're all doing this in mass and flooding the market. So some big considerations and some big news overall with SGC. I think time is going to really be the true indicator of how things shake out with them. I'm really pulling for them. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not getting paid anything by SGC. Really just want to see them do well, really disrupt the market, hopefully provide some better consumer expectations on turnaround time, be able to provide a higher level of the overall grading service, and then hopefully iterate their product and improve upon it so that we see a nicer label to go along with their really nice slab. I think if we get all those things, or any kind of combination of those things, they're going to be a great alternative. So that's going to do it for today's video. Again, appreciate all the comments and all the feedback. Until next time, keep your flip game strong.